Have you ever seen this bus? Probably. This is a Scania K320UD Gemilang, the double-decker bus most people are most likely to know in Adelaide Metro service. But it is basically Adelaide's main double-decker right now. But have you seen this one? This is 3402, the Bustech CDi double-decker. And this bus is way rarer. For people who know Adelaide Metro buses, this thing is special. It is different, it sounds different, it looks different, and for a long time it basically disappeared from regular service. So seeing this bus back out again is actually amazing, and honestly, Adelaide Metro did something right for once. Now, Adelaide has never really been a proper double-decker bus city. We usually use articulated buses instead, and honestly, that makes sense. Articulated buses are easier to use across the network, they fit Adelaide's routes better, and we already have heaps of them. Double-deckers are a bit different. They have height issues, they cannot go everywhere, and there are only certain routes where that actually makes sense. But this is also what makes them interesting, because when Adelaide does use a double-decker, it stands out immediately. The Scania K320UD Gemilang is the one people are more likely to recognise, but the Bustech double-decker has a much stranger story. Before it became 3402, this bus was originally numbered 1790 with Torrens Transit. It was used as a Jet Express airport bus running between the city and Adelaide Airport, and as an idea, that actually made a lot of sense. It has heaps of seats, it looks different, and it makes the service feel more important than just a normal airport route. But that also leads to the question, if this bus was so interesting, why did Torrens Transit stop using it? The simple answer is that its original role probably stopped making sense. The airport service could be operated by normal buses, and over time, the O-Bahn J routes become part of a wider network rather than just feeling like one special airport shuttle. Today, the J1 runs as an O-Bahn service through places like Paradise and Clemzig before continuing upward towards the airport and Glenelg. And that is a problem for this bus, because this double-decker is not an O-Bahn bus, and it cannot just be thrown onto the guideway like a normal O-Bahn vehicle. It also has height restrictions, it is more unique, and it is not as flexible as a normal rigid or articulated bus. So, instead of keeping one unusual double-decker at Torrens Transit for a role that did not really need it anymore, it made more sense to move it somewhere its seating capacity was actually useful. And that's where the Adelaide Hills comes in. Longer Hills commuter routes are one of the few places in Adelaide where a double-decker actually makes sense. You get a lot of seats without needing a longer bus. That is the main advantage. It takes up about the same road length as a rigid bus, the 14.5 metre Scanias. However, it carries way more seated passengers. For longer peak hour trips, that matters. Nobody wants to stand for ages on a long commuter run if they do not have to. So, the bus was moved from Torrens Transit, renumbered from 1790 to 3402, and become a South Link Hills bus. And honestly, that was probably the best place for it. But then, after years of being a rare Hills bus, 3402 became even harder to find. For a long time, it was barely seen. And from what I understand, the reason usually comes back to maintenance, parts, and the fact that this bus is basically a one-off in Adelaide's fleet. This is not just another Scania K320 with a body Adelaide has already seen everywhere. It is a Bustech CDi double-decker with a Cummins ISL engine. That makes it unusual here. Most of Adelaide's newer Bustech buses are Scania-based, and the fleet is not exactly full of Cummins-powered Bustech double-deckers. So, if something specific went wrong with 3402, It probably was not as simple as just grabbing the same part from another common Adelaide bus, but I also do not think the explanation is as simple as parts did not exist. Cummins and Bustech are not exactly unknown brands. They are used in buses all over the place, and Adelaide still had plenty of Bustech buses in service, even while Bustech itself was in a bad financial position. So, to me, the real reason was probably a mix of things. It was unique, it had different parts compared to most of the fleet, it was not urgently needed every day. It probably took more effort to keep running than a normal bus. And if an operator does not really need one rare double-decker, it is very easy for that bus to be parked and forgotten. That is what makes seeing it return so good, because Adelaide could have easily let this bus sit forever. It could have become one of those buses that enthusiasts talk about, but nobody actually sees again. A rare bus, a cool bus, a bus that just slowly disappears. But instead, someone actually brought it back, and I'm glad they did. Because 3402 is not just another bus. It adds variety to the fleet. It adds extra seating where it makes sense. It gives passengers something different. And for bus fans, like me, it brings back one of the most interesting vehicles Adelaide Metro has. I do not think that Adelaide Metro needs more double-deckers. For most routes, articulated buses still make more sense. But on the right routes, especially longer hills commuter services, double-deckers absolutely have a place. They are good for seating capacity, they are interesting for passengers, and they make public transport feel a bit less boring. And that matters, because public transport should not just be functional. Sometimes it should actually feel cool. The Scania K320UD Bus 3401 is the double-decker most people know. But 3402, the Bustech, is the rare one. That one that disappeared. The one that could have been forgotten. And now it's back. So yes, for once, Adelaide Metro did actually do something right. They brought back one of the rarest buses in the fleet. So the question now is, should 3402 stay in service long term, or should Adelaide use double-deckers more seriously on urban routes, or are articulated buses still the better choice? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.